Okay, so let's have a look. See. So I was thinking of, trying to do something relevant to what we do. So I was gonna try and make some of these, see how that goes, and maybe chuck it in a bucket. Let's see. Bucket. Cheers. So I'll try and make one of these as well. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how close I can get. I don't have my fancy renderers on here, but I'll just go slow. Okay, Cinema 4D. How many people use Cinema? 1, 2, cool. All right, so I'll go slow. So we got viewport here, so you can look at your shit. When you create stuff, it shows this is like all the different objects that you got in your scene, so you can select them here, move them, blah blah blah. Moving around is pretty easy. It's you hold Alt, and then you can use left click to rotate around whatever you've got selected, middle click to pan, and right click to zoom. And the more you do it, the quicker you get at it, and it gets easy after a while.
Music's really bad.
Is it? All right, I'll pull it down. There we go. Better. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna try and get to a finished product within an hour. I might blast through it, and if anyone's got questions, just sing out and I'll explain something. So oldest way of modeling is called box modeling. So you just start with a box and you just kind of build it up from there. You got some tools at the top here to create stuff, so you can click and hold, and then you got like spheres, you can play around with this dude if you want. Yeah, presets, exactly. So I'm going to go with the standard cube to start off with, and this down here is like your options for the stuff that you got selected. So you can, if you don't, you can use these little tiny handles here to change the sizes and stuff. So I'm going to get like the general sort of shape, and then I'm going to give it some more segments. So that's that one there, and then one along the z-axis. And to start off with, you can change in the display settings to show like the wireframe on it as well, and you can turn that off because sometimes you get really dense meshes and it's just really annoying, so you can turn it off but turn it back on. Okay, so at the moment it's still just like an editable cube where you can change the segments and stuff, but I can't edit the points yet until I make it editable. So make editable, and then essentially now as soon as I hit this, I lose those settings, but it lets me be able to select points and stuff and move them around.
Do you try and avoid doing that?
Depends what you're doing. Depends what you're doing, really. Sometimes you might need to leave it changeable, and so you'll avoid it. But if you're wanting to do actual modeling, this is the way to go. Yeah.
Do you ever keep the Duke copy like in there to go back to?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of times where I'll get to a point where I've had it super editable, and then I'll need to make another version of it. So what I'll do is I'll get it to a certain point, and then I'll just control click, and then make a copy of it, and then I'll hide the copy, and then it'll give me this one, and then I'll a lot of times I make a null, and I just call it bin, and then I chuck all my stuff that I might need later into the bin, and I just chuck it down here and then hide that. And so you don't have to hide hide the stuff in the bin. You can just hide the bin and then drag stuff out if you need to grab it again. Also, these are your display tags. So, for example, so the bottom one is render. So if you have it on red, it won't show up during render time, but it'll still show in the viewport. And the top one's a viewport. So, yeah. And if you can alt click or control click, no, alt click. Yeah, it does both. Okay, cool.
So top one's rendering and bottom one's viewport. No, sorry.
Other way.
Viewport.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okie dokie. So, I'm gonna try and do a bit of box modeling. Yeah, so you can see, depending on what I've got selected, it changes this menu down here. So I'm going to the select menu. And wait, first I'll chop it up a little bit to give me some more details to work with. First I'll just go like this. Also, with the select, if I've got only select visible elements on, it won't select the thing underneath. But if you have it off, you can drag and select and it'll grab everything from here downwards. And I don't really know what tolerance selection does. I think it's like, it just, let's have a look. Yeah, okay, so tolerance selection is you can select a section of it and you don't have to select the whole thing. All right, cool. So turn that off, leave that on. Let's go to points. And if you middle mouse button click anywhere inside the viewport, it'll bring up the 4 views. And then, so this is top, right, front. And then you just middle mouse button click to switch between them. And so I'm just going to go from the top just to try and get a general shape of a chicken strip. And chicken strips are pretty all over the place, so I'm not really giving a shit if this is like in line with this. But a cool trick to get stuff in line is you select both of them and you scale them on one axis only, and then it brings them into alignment like that. See? Yeah. You just do that a couple of times. Alright. So that's the general shape. Alright, what I'll do is, okay, so we've got some tools up here. Where is it? Alright, so what I use a bunch of these a lot when I'm modeling. And what you can do is, instead of every time having to go here and down to here, I always lose track, so you can just hit this and just tuck it over here. So I'm going to go use the loop path cut, and so you can chuck some slices in there. And chuck one here, maybe one down there, one down there. Start off with that. Go back to selection, and then you got this thing called soft selection over here, and you get a yellow representation of it. So, for example, if I select these dudes and bring this up a tiny bit, so you can see as I bring up the radius, it shows me how much it's affecting. So if I bring it up like that, so I've only got the one selected, but there's a fall off to it. So instead of pushing all of the little ones like to get them in the right position, you can just kind of just shape it like this. All right, so let's go this one. Yeah, easy. It's just when you've got the select tool selected, it's just here. You just enable disable. Same place that this one's at. Cool. So let's try and shape it a bit more. See, I don't want it as much now. Sorry, I'm just bringing down the radius and then bloop, getting a bit pointy. And then, that's shit. Bring that back in. I want it to kind of bulge a bit in the middle. It's usually thicker in the middle, so I'll bring this up a bit, and then I'll scale. You can scale on 2 axes at once by using this thing. Actually, I don't want to do that. I just want to go like this. I'll bring up that radius a bit more. There we go. And then I'll do the same down this way. Is this going to work? Let's bring that down. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try and get the general shape, and then we can build it up from there.
Obviously, like the bumpiness of it will come way later.
Yeah,
Just go get like the general.
pretty much. Yeah, you start simple and then you work your way up in detail. So I just want to get this like, cause they've got like, where are they? Got like pointy ends and shit.
Yeah.
Where's the other ones? There. So I reckon let's make them longer. Scale.
Should have stuck to the last crop.
Chicken strip on PlayStation 1.
Alright.
There's a site on Facebook called 98D Mate. It's grab the games from nowadays like Far Cry and stuff, and they create videos based off like 98.
Oh, really?
1998 graphics. That's
Awesome.
Oh, I've seen that. So good. I saw the Rocket League one.
Yeah.
Did they do Goldeneye?
No,
As if they
I can't
would.
remember which ones they've done. I saw the Rocket League one as well. Rocket League and Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, right. That's awesome.
So clunky they make it look.
Isn't it?
Isn't it amazing we've got to the stage where we're actually making old school digital now?
Yeah.
Alright. So now I've got the general shape. I'm gonna start to add some more cuts to it, just to give it some more detail. One there.
So you kind of want to have those pointy ends, hey? Like those.
Yeah, because when you smooth it out, it'll round that off.
Yeah.
Alright, maybe one there. Cool. Alright, so because I put this cut through here, it's still super flat down that edge. You can see, like that line's super flat. So I'll just grab these dudes and bring them. Let's bring that back down. Get that a bit more rounded.
So just like a couple of points there, hey?
Yeah.
And just adjusting the yellow spread.
Yeah, and this doesn't have to be perfect, because it's just a wonky piece of chicken, really.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right.
Is it possible to select a point inside?
Sorry.
Is it possible to select a point inside?
Well, there are no points inside. It's like if I can get the camera in, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's just a shell. So when I'm selecting this, it's the same thing. I might bring Allmate back a little bit, so it's not as pointy. Okay, that's what's going on here. All right, well, that's chicken strip base. Cool. All right, let's get some detail in there. So what I'm going to do is this guy here is a subdivision service, and essentially it just adds extra divisions inside each of these squares. And the way they work is, so I clicked it, adds it as an object over here, and then I drag the one that I've been working on. Let's turn off. Fucking why Oh, because. There we go. So subdivision surface object, and I grab the cube that we've been working on, drag it, drop it, and put it as a child, and then boom, Let's give it some more detail to work with. And this is where I start to use the bin, right? Because I want to be able to push and pull some more of these points, but I can't do it like this, because as soon as I go back to points mode, it's gonna wanna, it's like I can only really play with these points, not these ones. So what I'll do is I'll make a duplicate of it, like I was saying before. This is my original, chuck it in the bin, I don't need you anymore, and that's hidden, so I've got this one. And then to commit these changes, you can go current, so I'm just right clicking and then go on current state to object, and it makes a copy of it with those changes. So now I can delete this, and now I've got this dude, and then I can do the same thing again. I'm just gonna do this yep, cool. Let's go like this. Cool. Just trying to make it a bit irregular. It's a bit weird down this end. Cool. That'll do. Let's make it thicker in the middle. That'll do. Cool. Okay, so what I need to do now is try and get all these like crispy bits. I was trying to do this earlier today and it crashed on me. Let's see if I can do it on the fly. Alright, so
You're going to model the crispy bit?
yeah, I think I'm going to do it in 2 stages. I'm going to add some bumpiness across the whole thing to give it a lot more detail, and then I'm going to model a couple of these little crispy bits and then clone them across the whole thing, so there's like duplicates of them, and then combine the two, and fingers crossed that works. So this section here is a whole bunch of deformers that you can play with. For example, this one's called bend. You make them a child of the object you're trying to fuck with, and so at the moment it's like this. So if I choose to bend it, it's not going how we want, but you can go fit to parent. Wait, and which way is it bending first?
So the parent is the bender, right? The parent's not the chicken strip.
In this case, the bend is the child of the
child, right?
yeah. So what I'm gonna, because it's bending this way, and so if I wanted to use the bend, so I'm gonna rotate the bend this way, and I'm holding shift to lock it to 10 degrees each, and now I'll hit fit to parent, and it'll automatically change these sizes for me. Boop. And then now when I go bend, whee, you know, so that's if you want to, you get, I don't know, like a really creepy tongue going on. Wait, I'm gonna waste some time.
Get some tongue texture on there.
Where you can hide this. Yeah.
Took a turn for the weird.
Yeah. All right. No more fucking around. All right. So that's introduction to deformers. I'm gonna use a displaced deformer. So chuck that as a child. Now this dude, in the shading tab of its settings, you can chuck in a noise. Yeah. But that's a shitty noise for starters. So, okay, so what I'm doing here is it's assign this image, and where it's white it comes up, where it's black it goes down, and you can change the strength of it. So you can get it real crazy. So if I go to shading, and then if you click on here, you can actually change the image. You got heaps of different settings, so you can like clip it. Is it gonna do it? I gotta remember to keep saving, just in case. So you can change the noise type. There's a whole bunch here. Well, there's a couple. What was the one that I used? This one? No. Let's change the global scale. All right, so this is like the scale of it. So you can shrink them down. Ooh, shit. No, not that one. Yeah. So if you want it like really fine, you can bring that all the way down. But the thing is, it's like it's still working with the poly count that it's got at the moment. So to get this looking better, you got to subdivide it again. Is this gonna work? Yes, it does. Boom. All right. So obviously, because it only moves around the polys that you have. So if you don't have a lot of detail, it's just gonna get all super jagged. So I'll chuck that on. I might bring that down a little bit more. So cool. But I want to get like, to start off, I just want like the big chunky sort of stuff. So let's try and make this bigger. Was it this one that I used? And I'm bringing up the scale. Hey, it's getting there. Yeah. And you can, where is it? You can clip it. So kind of like in Photoshop where you're changing the levels of the curves, and you can, so it's only really affecting in certain areas like that. There was another one that I used. Where is it? No.
Can you combine two different?
Yes, that's my plan. Where the fuck is it?
Billy? Anyone?
No, I'm still good, thanks.
Yeah. Mainly you, Rob.
Maybe this one. Bring it up a bit. Oi. Alright, just looks like a oh, you know what?
We all know what you're gonna say.
I was just about to say Mr. Hanky.
Actually, let's take chocolate petals on. Don't grow shiny.
Yeah, snack on that. Alright. So what I'm going to try and do, I'm just getting like the big details, and I'm going to layer it up with some smaller ones as well. I swear I had a better one of these earlier today before it crashed. Gaseous? I think that's the one. You can also change just specific axes scale. So if you want to like streak it, you can bring this down. So you can see the pattern that it's making here and how it's applying it to you.
Cool.
But it's not what we want. It seems like a good general sort of shape. Alright, so what's my poly count at? Yeah, it's not too dense.
You have to keep an eye on that, or?
No, but what fucked me up before was when I tried to make these little crispy bits, and then I tried to clone it onto the object. What it did was it cloned it to every single point, and it fucking smashed my computer.
I'm not surprised.
So
I did to stop that.
what? I didn't know you could stop that.
Well, because it automatically goes to vertices when
Yeah.
you go to object.
Yeah.
So you can set it up and save it so that it just sets it to something else rather than vertices. Because as soon as you go to clone
Yeah.
to object, the thing automatically sets to vertices. So when you put an object in, it's trying to put it on every point, and that just slows your machine down.
What I've done before is put it on on a simple object, set it up with the settings how I wanted, set exactly how many clones I wanted, and then switched it over.
Yeah, yeah.
That's actually a good idea.
All right. So let's make a little crispy bit. Fuck it. Let's start with a sphere. So hide. You can change the type. Let's play with. Yeah, because using this one, if I add a bunch more subdivisions and I try and distort it, it pinches around this pole here. It doesn't look good, so I like to work with this one, and it evenly distributes triangles across. Let's give it more segments, more to work with. Fuck it, that'll do. Gotta make it editable. And do the same sort of thing again. Actually, let's... No, hang on. Let's try this. So, splicer, shading, shader, adding a noise. There's a bunch of other stuff in here too. Like you can do checkerboard. Ooh, that's some cool motion graphics shit for you there. Fuck it, noise. Hey, that's not it. Oh, you can also load in your own textures too. Cool. So what did I use? Let's try that and scale it up. And then crank it. That's too much detail. You can, where is it? You can offset it. Yeah? Maybe not. Where's the offset? Could have sworn that was it. Fuck it. No.
What would offsetting do?
It's just offsetting the texture, so this will keep its size and stuff, but it just changes the position of the noise on it. So where the fuck is it? Could have sworn that was it. Or maybe this is animated movement. Yeah, there it is.
Oh, right. Cool.
So you can animate it too, apparently. So let's see what 25 does, and then.
So you're just gonna pick where you think it looks good at.
Yeah.
Raise it, can you?
Whoa, let's go 5. No, 1. 1. It's a cool effect.
Fucking awesome.
Alright, so what I'm going to do is, because I don't want all of the crispy bits to look the same, I'm going to make a couple of different versions. So, fuck it, that's 1. And I'll go duplicate, hide, change. Oh, wait, hang on. What I'm not taking into account is the fact that as soon as I change the point in time, this is going to be different. So I'll find a point that I like, so say there, and then I'll go current state to object and makes a copy of it, so I don't need this. And so that's that one. And then I can go, let's go that one, put you over there. That'll do. 3 suits enough. We're not going to go super hectic. It's not a real job. And chuck you in the bin because we don't need you. Cool. So in this tab here, when you've got these selected, in this tab here is your coordinates. So coordinates are like how far away it is from the 0 point of the whole scene. So it's now negative 232 in the X, and X is in the red direction, and blah, 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 blah. So you can see it changing. Cool little trick that if you want to snap it back to 0, instead of having to go 0 and punch that in, you can just right click on these little arrows here. Boom. So, bloop. Easy. So I think these are too round. So I might flatten one of these up a bit. Same with this one. Leave that one chunky. And I'll chuck them back in the origin point. And I might shrink them down because in comparison to that, they're huge. So look right. Fuck. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm gonna save so I don't, in case I make the same fucking mistake again. Actually, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use. Is it this one? No. This one? No. Oh, did I get rid of it? Oh, it's this one. And then cool. So, because if I was to try and make a copy of these onto each point of this, that's a shit ton of copies, and they're all overlap, and there's way too many, and that's exactly what crashed my computer before, because it's essentially like, what, it's, I wish I knew how to bring up the poly count, but there's a bunch in there, and then you times that by however many's there, and your computer can't handle it. So I'm going to use this one.
You had a faster machine, will it handle it?
Dude, my machine's a beast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So you can pretty much get to a point where it's like, just don't even touch it with any computer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Should tell you, right? Like, it'd be good if it, say, the app goes, I mean, the program goes, yeah. It's, sorry, this is going to be... Rather than just trying to do it.
Or just even in Houdini, the other program that I use a lot, there's an option to just hit escape, and whatever it's doing, it'll just cancel it. But not in this. Like, that's one thing I don't like about cinema. Once you've done something accidentally, you can't get out of it, it'll just crash.
Like if you accidentally go scroll down too far in a number, and you have like 0.001, it tries to calculate everything.
Yeah.
You're stuck waiting for it.
Oh yeah, that's fucked. Alright, so I'm gonna go. Did I make this as a copy? No, let's keep you. Cool, so I'm gonna. Currents. Actually, I could bring this down, that's way too many. Yes, because I'll clone it to the surface instead of points. Current state to object, and I can delete you. Let's start the name shit because I'm gonna lose track. Chunk one. Fuck, how much time? Oh fuck, I'm running out of time.
All good. We just want to see how it's going to turn out, dude. So don't rush.
Yeah.
You flattened it with the render on 3, so it's still getting these.
I did, thank you.
Because I made that mistake.
I forget that it does that. Stupid. Alright, so this MoGraph, you got this thing called a cloner, and I'll hide this shit. So what the cloner does is whatever you chuck inside the cloner, it makes a bunch of copies of it, and then you define where the copies are. So at the moment, it's set to linear, so it's going upwards, and then the more copies or the more count you have, the higher it goes. You know. Woo.
Hey Rob, is that like with your computer, right? Is that making like fake copies so your computer's not handling it, or is it doubling the vertices every single time?
Yeah, it's not instancing. Instancing has its own thing.
So it literally is making.
Yeah, his instance.
Yeah, right. Why wouldn't you use that one then?
Because
Can't get the same effect, I suppose.
no, there's not a lot of settings in instances. I think instances is like you give it a set of points and then it'll instance an object on a set of points.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It's not part of the MoGraph stuff, so you can't add the effectors and stuff like that.
Alright.
So
For
I'm gonna.
this, you are going to need a fair bit of them to make it,
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna set instead of linear, I'm gonna set it to object. And it gives me a section here of what object I want to clone to. So I'm going to drag in this one. Whoa, that's what killed my computer last time. Yeah, you can see it's chunking now.
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah, so my computer's and this is the point where you don't need to see the lines.
Whoa.
Fucking chunky. All right. And so instead of vertex, I'm gonna set it to surface. So now it's just on the surface at random places, and then you can say you can define. Kind of looks like popcorn. All right, so I'm gonna actually, for starters, I'm gonna show you. And also, seed is like because it's randomly positioned. Depending on what number this is, it'll give you a different outcome. So if you don't like the arrangement, you can just keep changing this till you find something good. Also, okay, so it clones whatever object is inside the cloner onto your object that you've specified. But if you add more, it'll randomly distribute these three onto your object. So now I've got the 3 different chunky bits on the surface. Alright, so things you can do with a cloner. There's this section called effectors, and you grab those from up in the MoGraph thing, effector, and I want to use a random one because the default is it randomizes the position. I don't want that because this would be good if you're trying to get things randomly positioned in space, and so you can, this will be randomly that way and randomly that way. But I'm going to turn that off, and I just want to affect the scale and the rotation. And yeah, I'm going to do a uniform. So we get bigger ones, smaller ones, and I also want to randomly rotate them that much, and that much, and that much. So now I'm getting randomly placed thingies all over it, right? Now I'm going to up the amount to something hopefully not too crazy.
Hey, there we go.
Right. Starting to chunk, but maybe that's too much. So like this now, so we can hide the object that it's cloning onto, right? So now it's hollow. And then I'm going to bring back, was it this one? No. There's your other one. I think those chunks are a bit too big. So we can...
is there a way to blend like where they're intersecting?
Whoa,
there's no
shit.
real kind of smooth off, like if they're a part of the chicken. Is there a way to do that, or?
Sorry?
See how it looks like they're literally just sitting and like intersecting with the wall of the thing you made first.
Yeah. Okay, so the way that works is let's turn you off, and I'll bring this down back to a couple. Turn you back on. So what it does is it finds the center point, and it drops them on. So if I can go inside, you can see that it's half in, half out, right? So what you can do, and the reason why it's half in, half out is because if I turn off the clone on, turn off this, we know. So I got my chunks in here. So essentially, see how these things are resting in the 0 origin. So, and so it clones it like that. So if I was to bring some of these up like this, actually I'll do all 3. And so it's, say, this far above 0. It's cloning from 0, hopefully. I think you have to enable it, actually. There it is. So, yeah, so see they're all kind of like sitting off now. And so if I was to bring these back down to 0, if I turn off the random effector, there we go. So see how they're like, oh, fuck, they're all going in weird directions now. But yeah, the higher up I go, the further away from the surface they're going. Yeah. What I can do. Bring you back. Stop this. And then change the random. Wait. Oh, there you go, Alex. You can render instances.
Oh. So why would you not?
That's for when you
why would they give you that option?
Sorry?
Why would they give you that option if it's going to slow your computer down and give you the same result for both? You know what I mean?
Not too sure.
It's fucking weird. Anyway, moving right along.
You can also set it to volume, so it's filling. This would be filling it. Yeah, so that's like it's all through it, but we don't need that. Let's pop you back to surface. Alright, let's try and get something rendered. Let's just say that's our fucking crispy strip. Randomize it again. Yeah, I think that's what was causing them to sit so far off. But the thing is, I mean, look, this has got big chunks sitting off them, man. Yeah.
I think the problem is, dude, they're you can see them like it's like they've just hit, like they've all come in and just intersected, and there's no smoothing off, like with the face of the big grey one.
Yeah.
But it's too computerized. Like it's too edgy.
Yeah.
Like, is there a way to flatten the whole thing and then even out those edges?
Well, when I get to the texturing and stage, I'll put some what is it? Displacement in this, and so this is going to be, because I think that the thing that's fucking with you is the fact that this is smooth and this is all chunky,
that's it.
but I'm going to get to a point where this is going to be chunky as well.
Cool.
It's just that comes at a later stage. That'll do. Okie dokie. So I'm gonna. Yeah, okay. So let's make a copy. No, wait. Can I just do current state to object? And chuck you in the bin. And what this does is it gives me not what I want. What the fuck? Why did it only give me 3? Because make editable. That's what I wanted. Yeah. So chuck you in the bin. Make editable, and then boom, there's all my Oh, it's instance too. I don't want an instance though. Cool. Now it's given me another copy for each one there. And I'm going to combine them all so I can texture them in one go. Just select them all, connect objects. So this would make a new one and leave the rest, and I want to get rid of the rest. So bloop. And then so now I have one object, which is all of these things. And for some reason, this is I forget what this thing's called. It's taken the angle of the first one, but you can just go, where is it again? Axis, center, axis to, boom. No, that's still stupidly rotated. No, stuff it, stop caring. Okay, so let's make a null, start organizing this as strip out one, there's my chunkies, and that's my thingy, so that's one strip. So I'm gonna make another one. Just gonna try and, I'm not gonna do the bucket just because we're starting to run out of time.
You wouldn't texture one and then just do bevel afterwards?
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's because I was wanting to. No, it's not going to make a difference because it's just copying and pasting two texture files. Because I wanted to set up the lighting first before, because you got to light it before you texture it, otherwise you're going to texture it in shitty lighting and then you'll realize that they're all wrong. So I'm going to... Why? Did you do that? Oh, dude. Alright, so I'm going to chuck in a floor.
Looks like white dog shit.
It's been there for a while, huh?
Yeah. Rob, your word looks like dog shit now.
Thanks. You sound like my dad.
Holy shit, that's like...
He's number 4, is he?
Yeah, full bob.
Number 4 is it?
Full ball.
Yeah. You know what I might do?
And also, if you really wanted to, you could make gravity and make that form naturally onto the other one and have.
Yeah, it could, but that's a whole nother road I don't want to go down.
Chapman is a disruptive influence.
Oh, fuck, sorry, I got my feet up and everything.
Wait, done the wrong thing.
This room has perfect ambience to that.
You have to sleep, Matt.
Yeah.
Is Rob boring you?
No.
I'm gonna do it.
Very cozy, isn't it? Yeah.
How's the setting up the Wii U in this room going on?
I don't think we've done it yet. Is this gonna work? Yeah.
Ooh, check that out.
Yeah, so I don't know why fit the parent's not working, but let's just do it manually. Oh, this is slow. It's got so much stuff in it.
That's why it didn't want to work.
Yeah.
So they don't do it.
This is not, it usually gets like that, right? So, is it only because it's Cinema 4D? Is this what it is? What is it called? Cinema 4D?
Yeah.
Is it usually slow?
No, it's just because I've got so many. See how dense that mesh is? That's crazy. I probably shouldn't be doing it this way. But
So obviously,
Well, what if you like modeling other things where it requires that much detail as well? Like,
usually you'd model it with basic detail like I've done on the actual strip, and then you put in the super fine details in the actual textures. No.
Why are you actually doing it this point?
What I'm doing is I'm putting in another deformer. And if I can get this right, I'll just bring it up a little bit. I'll show you. Cool. All right. So this deformer, if I add more points in the X. Cool. Now, strip 1. So now, so imagine like this is kind of like a box around it, and then kind of like stretches. So as I deform these points, it kind of like stretches and changes what's inside it. So it's kind of like modeling after you've modeled. So you can get some. Yeah. So essentially, I've just fuck you. So I've just made a duplicate, and now I'm just making different like versions of the same thing. Not too much. Just to get some different variety in the render. That'll do. Yeah, something different. Fuck it. Cool. All right. Where's my floor? We'll leave that one. We'll use this one. Oi. Okay. I'm back. Whoa. So I'm just gonna position him. Try and make it look like one's sitting on the other one. Bring it this way a bit. Fuck it, that'll do. It's not very appetizing, but that'll do. Alright, so we have cameras. Click it, and it makes a camera from the point I was looking at. And so, say you really liked this angle. Say you want to render that angle. Like that. Make a camera. So now you can come back. And then to look through the camera, you just click this little dude here. Womp. So you can always come back to it. And then, although one thing I always do is as soon as you start moving around inside as the camera, it changes the position of it. So you got to remember to click out of it. But I like to add, I think it's protection. So now I can't change the camera accidentally. I have to click out. So like this is my just looking around the viewport, and then when I check the render, go back to there.
It should just be like protection automatically.
It should. It really should. Houdini does it. It's become so hard to come back to cinema.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna do some lights. Actually, you know what? Let's get a HDR going. All right. So there's a bunch of different types of lights. You know, you can just. This is what's called a point light, and essentially just casts light in all directions around it. Can I get shadows going in here? Apparently not. Ah, wait, do I have to turn them on? Yes. There you go. Yeah. I like to use area lights because it's kind of like big softbox. So that way you just get way better shadows. But to start off with, there's another one. Where is it? You can do this thing where you get one of these images. What's a decent one? Let's make it look like a shot in the studio. What? Oh. Alright. So, what's this is, if I make a sphere and make it fuck off huge, so it's encompassing the whole scene, right? And make a texture. Okay, so this is where all the materials are. And so I just double clicked down here, makes a new one, double click on the material, and it brings up the settings for it. I'm going to turn off reflectance because I don't need that. I don't need the color, but I'm going to chuck on luminance, which means that it casts light. I'm going to attach that texture. It should show up here. How big was that image? Jeez. And then drop that on the sphere. Now, if we look back, you see how it's like wrapped around it, but essentially what that's going to do is from the inside, it's like you're inside that scene. And because it's going to cast light, lots of light is going to come from here, but not so much over here. And so it's essentially taking a spherical image, and it's going to light your scene as if it was there. It's kind of annoying me in the viewport, so you can turn it off in the viewport. Yeah, so now I'm not accidentally selecting it. So let's do a quick render, see where it's at. I like to use Arnold render, but that's a whole another kettle of fish. I'm gonna go for physical. And yeah, fuck it. See what the basic settings. Sorry? You mean this stuff?
Arnold's just another renderer. It's like
Yeah.
faster.
It's a plugin, which it's just a whole different type of renderer. All right, let's see what it looks like. It's better, but it's way more technical. Now, why does that look like shit? What have I done wrong?
For global animation.
No, that comes default with physical. Is it because nothing's got textures? Alright, so I'm just dragging and dropping textures onto my objects over here, and you can see them come up here. How's that? What the flippin' fuck is going on?
It's pretty good though.
Thanks, dude.
I mean, texture wise.
I know I'm doing something wrong. No, seriously, what the fuck's going on? I thought it came standard with. Yeah, there we go. That's in the standard render. Well, maybe you might be right, Matt.
I don't know, I just do it by habit, always turn it on, but I don't know if it
I thought it was part of the physical renderer.
makes sense. It should be, because it.
Oh. Okay, so we're getting there, right? So that's just like with just having this texture lighted. So what I might do is I'm going to bring it down because I'm going to use that as just a filler. And then... And then...
Mixed strength, what is the difference when you do that?
Okay, so... Mixed strength is, for example, say I've chosen blue. It's how much I'm mixing this texture with the blue. So if I keep it at black, or have the brightness all the way down, it's essentially mixing it with black. Cool.
But that happens only within that luminance layer, yeah?
No, you got it in. Oh no, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. Also, you could change the expose other way. Wait, no, black point. There we go, contrasting it. So I'm getting rid of the light that's coming from the other sections. Let's see what that looks like. Bring it down a bit too. Alright. So this is just kind of like a basic filler, and then I'm going to chuck some lights in.
Did you figure out what you wanted to do before I went?
Yeah, turns out you do need to have physical turned on. Alright, cool. Alright, so quick lighting tutorial. Area light. I'm going to turn off that grid because it's pissing me off. Where is it? Grid. There we go. And quick shading. There we go. And I'm gonna hide this. There we go. So now you can come back. So I'm also gonna hide the camera because you're in the way. So first thing I learnt in lighting is 3-point lighting. You've got what is it? Key, fill, and rim. So key is like your main one. So I want my main one. Actually, let's try a little trick that I learned. So if you make a null in the center point, and then make the light the child of the null, and then bring the light away. No, let's go this way because the light's pointing in the Z. Yeah. So now, instead of, because the light is always pointing down this way, and instead of going and then and trying to guess if it's pointing in the right direction, because I've put it inside the null and I've pushed it away from the null, and then now all I have to do is rotate the null and it goes around from the center point. So I want it to be, and then you can use this thing here to change from the local angle to the global angle, so it resets it, and I can go like that. Where's my camera? So from this angle, so we go. A cool thing about Arnold, and there's other ones called Octane and Redshift, is you can see a live update of how it's rendering, and it starts off like it does it progressively. Like it starts off really, really crappy, and then over a couple of seconds it gets better. But you can make changes really quickly on the fly and see roughly what it looks like. Whereas this, I have to make some changes and then hit render, make some changes and hit render. Okay, so this is my key light.
Isn't an interactive render region do something like that?
Yeah, but that's way slow.
Is it?
Yeah. Like,
So you use Arnold basically, that's it, like all the time.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use Octane at all?
They're basically the same thing.
Yeah, cool.
This is killing me.
Cream's just got excited about Octane this last 6 weeks.
It's pretty quick.
Change that.
Do you have to buy renderers?
Yeah.
I think they bought a fucking render server
Oh, really?
with the software.
That's only for PC though. Nothing.
Fill.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It's just super fast. I think it's
Grim.
GPU renderer.
Yeah. Although Arnold's, it doesn't do GPU yet.
But it's still pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
Beanbags here, hey.
So,
Beanbags will be with you. Netflix,
are you, Rob, making a new null and a new light for each one of these things that you do?
I'm just duplicating it and using it.
But each of those lights has the same center point null? Like
Yeah.
separate null?
Yeah. It's like this is the same as this and this.
Why are you doing 3 lights?
Okay, so it's 3-point lighting. This is the very basics that I got taught. So the first one is like your main one, and then so that'll give the majority of the light. And then this one's called the fill. Oops. Fuck you. Yeah. So this one's called the fill light, which is like it'll give us it'll fill in like, because you'll have the main one down here, and then you'll have black, completely black underneath the other side, and so it fills that little black bit underneath with some sort of color. And usually this one's warm and this one's cold, a little bit cooler, and then this one at the back is just like a bright rim light along the top edge of everything. So you'll just see it like backlighting it. Alright, so set the key one a bit warm, and then I'll set the fill light a bit cool, and
Do you generally light like this every time? Or?
This is the basics of lighting.
Yeah.
But it really depends on each job you're doing. I'll bring the fill down in intensity, and the rim, bring it up, maybe? Alright, let's have a look. Oh, I forgot to enable shadows. Alright, so I'll show you the difference between the different shadows. So we got hard shadows, which will just, it won't take into account the area light, and so you'll just get a solid, you'll see in a sec. Come on. Woo, that's way too bright. But there's the hard shadows there. Let's turn off the rim first and turn off the fill. Let's just do them one by one. Bring it down. So this is why I like Arnold or Octane, is because I'm not having to wait like this every time. You just do them on the fly. There we go. Okay, so that's hard shadows. There's soft shadows. But it's not usually physically accurate. It's all the same all the way through. I don't know if that's touching the ground down there. Let's bring that down a bit. Here. There we go. And there's area shadows, which takes into account the shape of the light. So at the moment, I can't fucking see it because it's the same bloody color as the background. Bring it back up. So you can change the... No, not that one. Where are you? Size, here we go. You can make it really wide, and then that'll give you a lot more dispersed shadows. But if you make the light really small, it'll make the shadows a lot harder because they're only coming from, it's like the angle that the light's being cast out is from a smaller place. Also, the bigger it is, the brighter it is because it's coming from more of it. So let's up this quality. Physical sampling quality. Let's go medium. You know what I can do? Progressive. Pass count. What's this look like? There we go. It's doing that in stages now, which is nice. Alright, so see how this is like super dark in here? So that's what the fill light's for. So I'm going to bring that in. Change that to area light as well. And make that a bit wider too. Alright. Then we grab the rim. So where's the camera? So I only really want the rim to like show up just on the back edges, like here. So if I have it too high, it's going to be cast all over here, and then I'll see it too easy. So I'm going to try and tilt it back. So it's only just grabbing the back bits, maybe there. And I'm not going to turn on shadows for that. And I'm going to blast it. See what it looks like. Whoa, that's way too bright. um, you know what you can do? You know what you can do is on the light. There's this tab here, and you can exclude certain objects from the lights. So if I'm dragging in the floor, and so it shouldn't, in theory, light the floor.
Is it a different colour at the moment?
Sorry?
Is that light, the green light, is it a different colour?
It's pure white at the moment. And I might bring that back again. And there. I'll also tilt it back a bit more. Cool. Fuck, that's solid. Whoa. Oh, this whole time I could have been doing that. Well, there you go.
How did you get it so you can preview the shadows?
Fucked if I know. I think I had it on quick shading. Yeah, I had it on quick shading for some reason.
So it's not the final shadows, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
How lighting's going to affect it.
No, they've updated this since I've used it last. I didn't know this was a thing. All right, let's start texturing. So I'm just gonna put on this section. Oh, we're gonna go for. I'm gonna try and blast through this. Gonna add a texture. I want it to be between that and change the noise to something different. Actually, instead of noise, I'm going to layer. And now I can layer multiple noises on top. Let's get some darker, yeah. And white, and then enough detail. That one. Yeah, it's the wrong way around. White, and then dark brown. Set that to multiply. Maybe that's 2. Let's see what that looks like. Is that gonna work? Yep. It's getting there. This the texture's like really big on this, but it's okay size on the little chunks. So you go to this one. Come on. Yeah. What the? Starting to chunk now. What's going on? Oh, there it is. You can tile it. So you can give it, so let's say 10 by 10. It's essentially maybe 5 on that axis. Yeah, 2. There we go. 20. Yeah, we're getting better. 30. Close enough.
So that affecting on the small chunks as well?
Sorry?
That tiling affecting on the small chunks as well?
On the small one.
No,
Just the big one.
Just the big one.
Because I'm changing just the tiling on this material. What are these called? Thingy. Just this material thing here. If I was to change this, let's see, this tiling is still 1.
Okay, yeah.
So what was that? That was 30 and 2. Alright, so also on here, there's a tab for displacement. Actually, I'll start with bump. So bump map is, if I turn off the color for a sec, so if you add a texture to a bump map, it's like it's faking extra texture. So see how it looks like it's bumpy, but essentially it's flat. It's just tricking the light to look like it's bumpy. But displacement is actually displacing the geometry. This is just like faking extra bumpiness to it.
Because the edge of that sphere in the texture
Is perfect, yeah.
But can't you get it so that still with a bump map, the edge of that is bumpy?
No, that's displacement.
Is it?
Because this is just the way it's rendered. It doesn't actually change the shape of it, whereas displacement it'll change the shape of it. I'll show you. I'll get there. Alright, so I'm just going to add some detail to the bump map. See, it's getting some nice look in there.
Have you seen that parallax offset?
No.
So that's like a new thing where if you turn it up, it'll deepen the shadows. It kind of does a parallax effect, so it makes it look a little bit better. It's pretty good.
Did not know that. Alright, we'll add some displacement as well. What are we going to go with? I don't think displacement shows up until you render it though. So let's see what this looks like. Might look shit. It will be black, but I'm trying to not be distracted by the textures.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I might give it some more. Let's displace it by 20. See there, Alex?
So you enlarge the scale of it.
I enlarged the height.
Does that mean it'll stick out 20 centimeters?
I'm not too sure. Actually, I'm not sure of the difference between strength and height. Maybe I pushed it too far there because that just looks like a mess now. 6. What do you look like with the color on? I think those brown bits are doing my head in. Let's bring those back down. There we go. I'm not a big fan of those flat bits in there, but we're kind of just rushing through this. I want to go to Mika's going away drinks.
Yeah. It's looking pretty good though.
It's getting there, but hopefully you guys are getting
Yeah.
something out of this.
I guess the problem is when it's not hands on, like it's really hard to like look back and be like, shit, how do you do this?
Oh, of course, but I mean,
If you're recording it all,
I am recording it, yeah.
Yeah, it does help.
So you can definitely. Well, there you go. That's how does this look in
Oh, look
comparison?
good.
I mean, where's our chicken strips? I mean, like obviously the color's wrong, but you can do that in Photoshop. Like,
see if you can do it here, dude. Just so we can like.
yeah, for sure.
Can you like try and make it?
We got.
It's just more like hot orange, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
The other thing.
That's
Oh,
it.
I knew what I was forgotten. Reflectance. Let's try and make it look a bit greasy. I'm gonna turn off the default because shit. I'm gonna go.
That looks so good, doesn't it?
Oh, what does this look like?
Oh, chrome.
Chrome nuggets.
Chromies.
Sounds like a
Quite
really
sharp though, hey?
Mm.
sweet strain.
What a
Cream.
texture. You can smooth it out, hey?
That looks shit.
Is that just struggling?
A little bit. Alright, so I want reflection strength, specular strength up. Actually, no, fuck, I can't be bothered dealing with this. Default,
That literally looks like
specular strength up.
almost believable. Like.
Fall off width in. Yeah, there it is. So I want to get this like tight, so it's like wet.
That's what I like to hear.
Tight and wet. Oh god, this is going on the internet. Metal? No. Oh, we're back to shit now. Inner width is what I was looking for. That's right. Bring that out and then bring width. Fall off like that. And then there we go. See what that looks like.
So much geometry now in there.
Yeah, that's why it's taking so long.
There we go. That looks better.
Kind of. But you know what I'm gonna do, because okay, so it's shiny everywhere, but what you can do is give it a Fresnel mask. Where is it? I'm going blind. Fresnel mask. So what this is gonna do is it's only gonna let it be shiny on stuff that's kind of starting to go away from camera. I wonder if I can explain this properly. If I turn off this and this.
Like your rim light, yeah.
Kind of. And then bring this like that. Okay, let's just see what it looks like.
Nashville hot.
Or is it Zynga for you now?
Oh, yeah, it's getting zinger.
It's too shiny.
Yeah, I don't even think they have shine on it, dude. It's still kind of.
It does on some of them.
Neither. Some
I wouldn't even buy it if it was dry.
Really?
Yeah, man. Fucking dry.
I don't know, like.
we could just leave this.
Moist.
kind of hard to visualize though without something.
Yeah,
visual.
true. It's
You know what I mean?
it's not in most of the.
Like, it's not like wet shiny like that, but it's damp. Like it looks like.
It's a fine balance.
Yeah, it's
Too
weird,
wet.
isn't it? It's such a
Too wet,
strange.
unhealthy. Not wet, not appetizing.
Yeah.
Let's try that. And also bring back that saturation bit.
Do you use something like an ambient occlusion to hide it, where they're overlapping with each other? Like, say you didn't want it to hit through here. Do you
Hide. What do you mean by hide? Oh, as in darken through here?
Well, yeah. Say you didn't want your speculars here
Uh,
to be hitting more here, because this.
I don't know why it's only showing through there. That's weird.
Is that something that you do with?
Fuck it. I'm just turning it off. What ambient occlusion does is, I'll show you.
I won't take you off path. It was just a question.
No. I'm starting to wrap up anyway. Ambient occlusion. What it does is it it shadows. Actually, you know what? I can just show you like this. Easy. Luminance. Turn you off. Fuck me dead. Why the fuck are these here? Yeah. Alright, so this is ambient occlusion. So that's what you get from ambient occlusion. It essentially just works out how close another bit of geometry is to another bit of geometry, and then it darkens it accordingly to how close they are. So yeah, it's just a way of getting some more shadows in, and some more detail into crevices and stuff like that. So yeah, and it's not a bad thing to chuck in actually. So.
But that doesn't affect your specular, then it's only the other end of it.
You could actually. Let's see if that actually works. So in the specular, bring the strength back up. In layer mask, instead of the Fresnel, I can use ambient occlusion. I wonder if that's actually gonna what? Where is? How have I lost this? Oh. Let's see if this actually works. Because what this is doing is it's using ambient occlusion as a layer mask for the specular, like I think you were suggesting. But is this going to do the opposite? Fuck, it's going back to turds now. No, but I think what we're getting here is in these dark crevices where we couldn't see anything anyway. There'd be no specular. Like I don't know if it's what we're looking for, but I'll turn that off. Don't need reflectance.
Sorry, I got a jet, but
No worries.
it's been awesome.
See you, mate.
See you, Gary.
We'll see what this can do.
Yeah. Yeah, next week. If you want to learn anything specific, just shoot me an email and I'll try and.
I was just starting to see like what you can do.
Yeah, no worries. Alright, let's up the samples to 20, and then let's do a final render. It's ridiculous.
It's good in the computer, hey?
Yeah.
That's a fast computer though. I used to be waiting for my first test render with that many polygons.
Yeah, dude, this thing costs 13K.
Yeah.
Wow, but yeah, like state of the art machine.
Oh, but it's PC as well, huh?
Oh yeah, it just rips, dude.
Imagine Octane on this.
20-year-old quadruback in there.
Oh, you got Arnold there.
Oh yeah.
Sorry?
20-year-old quadruback.
Is that it? That's final?
Mm-mm.
That's it. It's finished.
It's building.
Gold.
Not bad.
Usually I'd spend a whole day.
That reminds me of the guy from Fantastic Four.
Yeah, the rock. It does.
The guy from Fantastic
He-
Four
he-
now.
Reminds me of his.
It looks like his shits.
Yeah.
He poos out chicken tenders.
It looks like when you
Dude, but in that top right hand corner though, that looks pretty believable.
yeah, I mean definitely.
You know?
Wonder. Ooh, I wonder if chuck in some luminance with Fresnel. Ah, there. That'll give you a clear idea what Fresnel does. It only shows on stuff that's facing away from camera. So if let's try and get some yellow in there.
Yeah. No, that was Fritzl.
Well, I was close enough.
Fritzl, very different.
Fuck, that guy was fucked up, man.
What does that look like?
Well, it's fucking like impregnated or some shit. That looks pretty good, Sam.
Mm.
Doing it better.
That's the old render. This will be the new one.
So is it finally the cheat?
Oh, there we
That
go.
seriously does not look bad. Like, it's just the background that's kind of throwing us off.
Oh yeah, yeah. Obviously, I'd spent a whole bunch of time with the background.
Like, that looks fucking
So old one.
not bad.
That's with the Fresnel one on the Luminous
Not bad,
channel.
man. Not bad.
Man, that's really, yeah.
There you
this
go.
is like you did on the fly.
Yeah.
You know, if you just go more into the with details and bits and pieces.
Exactly.
But that's all retouching, right?
Yeah, and the thing is with 3D stuff, it's you get it like 85% there, and then the rest is touching it up, making it look 10 out of 10.
Fuck it up afterwards.
Yeah, and obviously you'd spend a whole day making this shit look good. I did this in what, 2 hours, almost.
I'm still waiting for Richard Lovegrove's chicken truck to warm up.
Done the job. That's a wrap, boys.
That's a wrap.
Love, you
Betty.
made a mistake by showing it this to Paul because the next assignment he's going to say, oh, I want this done. This salad, burger, and then the drumstick
I
and
actually
butter.
thought doing 3D scanning.
No worries, man.
Thanks, dude.
That opens up a whole nother photo mix.
Wow.
Rob, that was awesome, man.
Man, really, seriously, thank you very much.
Yeah, dude, awesome.
I'm sure definitely there will be some.
Yeah.
Food.
All right. Bye, people watching on the internet. I'm stopping now. Bye.